smarts and my...
He told me enough.
No, I...
Here's Chuck.
It's typical. Of course, any bad movie that comes out would obviously get a sequel for some weird reason. And no, New Mayhem is not the only bad animated movie that didn't even make that much profit, but is getting a sequel in 2026. There's another that barely made a profit, and somehow this got a sequel and a rarely played live show. Yeah, you know I ranted on this last week. Now we're gonna rant on the unnecessary sequel because I finally suffered through it. And yeah, but knowing the obvious intro before I get into this, it's Don G. Corleone here, and predictably I'm here with a brand new normal rant this time, not an epic rant. And this is going to be for what obviously is 2017's The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. Yeah, that's the sequel name, Nutty by Nature. More like the Blowjob 2, Shittier by Nature. Now, before I get into that though, this movie surprisingly, no, it's still shitty, but I wouldn't say it's as shitty as the first film. We'll get to that in a bit though. What's the plot of the sequel? This time around, Surly and the gang are back, and now they discover the mayor of their city is going to be doing one big hustle to build an amusement park that is so dangerous, and it will bulldoze their home. So the animals have to stop the mayor in order to take back the city park, when even though it's not the same park, they could literally just live underground the rides and sleep during the day and just go, when the park's closed, they could just get the food from the ground or from the garbage, because I'm pretty sure lots of squirrels eat food from the ground, or rats eat food from the garbage, so why not just do that? I'm pretty sure a lot of animals do that. A lot of wild animals eat anything that falls on the ground or from the trash. Whatever, but how was this made? Well, apparently around January 23rd, 2014, during the release of the first film, The Nut Job 2 got randomly announced, and originally it'd be released 2 years after the first. But then suddenly, nobody got an update about that. Until May 2016, randomly, 4 months after it was meant to come out, they just randomly pushed it back to May 2017. But then apparently, and then of course almost all the original cast came back, and Hydra Peror would score the film. Then in July 2016, they announced Jackie Chan in a wasted role again. This is not the only time he's been wasted. Would be joining the cast. Then some more actors, Bobby Moynihan from DuckTales, the new one. Bobby Cannavale from films like Spy and Ant-Man. And Peter Stormare, I don't know where he's from, came on board. I don't know where he's from, guys, so tell me in the comments below what movies Peter Stormare has been in that I don't know about. Then in December 2016, it got pushed again to August 18th, 2017, but then got May 2017 moved forward to August 11th. Wow, that's a day before my birthday. How shitty would that be? Yeah, what a shitty release date. What an insult. Probably a really insulting time to release a film like this near my birthday. Terrific. Because I totally would want shit like this released on my birthday. Holy crap. Yeah, that somehow apparently they had confidence to release a sequel to a bad January animated ripoff in the summer. And this is the same summer that had plenty of shit stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean 5 or Transformers The Last Night, Despicable Me 3, Iron Boy Jr. Homecoming, The Emoji Movie. Loads of crappy film. It's just a shitty ass summer in general. And 2017 was probably just one of the worst fucking years of my life. Glad that shitty year's over. Fuck 2017. Fuck 2017 to hell. Anyways, guys, after Nutjob 2 Nutty by Nature was shot and marketed, it went out to be released theatrically on August 11, 2017. And it once again got met with the same amount of negative reviews as the first, surprisingly not lower. But this time around, unlike the first film, this one actually thankfully bombed, with only $68 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. Now, as for my reaction, y'all know I fucking despise the first movie. It was literally just some cheap, mean-spirited, over-the-hedge knockoff that takes out everything good about that film and even had references to Gangnam Style, even though it's supposed to be set in 1959. And it was and that song was not even popular by the time it released. And the fact that it was somehow able to get a sequel is dumb as hell that nobody wants. Or nobody wanted. But yeah, so I avoided it. But now I have a YouTube channel and I did an epic rant for the first film about a bunch of knockoffs of the over-the-hedge characters that I can bet you if Vincent the bear from Over the Hedge probably met these guys, he'd probably stick a claw up their rear ends or maul them to death. Or heck, if they probably ran into the neighborhood, they'd probably first thing I hope they would get is immediately verminated and shot by Dwayne. Or sliced in half with a weed whacker by the first Karen of animation, Glass Sharp. That first film, I wanted all three of those scenarios to happen to every single one of these characters. Yeah, now I sat through the sequel. And yeah, it still sucks, but I don't think I hate this one nearly as much as the first film, because with this one, the mean-spirited tone is gone. And weirdly enough, surprisingly, there's no fart or burp jokes like the first film at all. There's zero. There's one in the trailer, but there's surprisingly zero in the movie for some weird reason. And the main lead is not nearly as much of an asshole this time. Then again, this was done by different people. I don't think this was done by the same people the first. I know it's by the same director who directed another shitty Weinstein animated film called Escape from Planet Earth, which is known for its shitty production. However, that does not make this movie good because it's still shit. It's just slightly less shitty, is all. The filmmakers did improve some mistakes from the first movie, they make the characters less hateful, but that doesn't make it good, guys. And the plot, this one is just an average plot about a group of animals having to save their park. It's just a typical environment animated film. After that nut shop from the first movie explodes, and now an evil mayor wants to replace the park with an amusement park. And we get a subplot involving the pug from the first film, gets captured by the mayor's daughter. And then meets her pet dog named Frankie. Yeah, falls in love with another dog. So it's another love interest subplot. It goes by the numbers and it's so bland and predictable. I don't really care that much about what's going on because you know what's going to happen. And the movie is still not even funny at all. The climax is somewhat interesting, but that's not saying a lot. And the animation, the animation's thankfully better from the last movie. And it still has some good character animation. It looks a little more colorful this time. It's got way more energy, and it's definitely more smooth. So I did like the animation. And yes, like I said, the movie's not mean-spirited, and they actually changed all the characters' personalities. There's no hypocritical message, it doesn't have its own message. But that doesn't help with the sequel just being this one's just... First one was one of the worst animated films ever made. This movie's just boring and just really forgettable. Not much to say about this movie. Just a lazily written story, more filler comedy, and The characters are just bland. They're not as unlikable this time, but they're just bland. And now it's just a preachy environmental message animated film. Yeah, one of those again. Like, how does this movie start? Like, another thing I forgot to mention is that they actually, with the exception of the nut shop being featured in the beginning, they don't really reference anything else of the first movie. They really don't. This one seems to act like the first movie doesn't exist. To be fair, I think that would probably be for the best, is to erase the first movie from existence, since nobody likes the first film at all. So yeah, instead of referencing the first, it feels more like a standalone film or just a separate draft of that whole original story. This time, our rewritten version of Surly has always had a rough as a small animal, and then thought he caught a break because this is a rewritten version. I'm going to call him Rewritten Surly. Finally now had a break when the nut shop closed down, and the basement was full of nuts for him and the other animals. Then, our rewritten version of Andy is now hypocritical, because whereas she viewed the nut shop in the first film as a whole entire lifetime food supply for all the animals, now she hates living in the nut shop and wants to live in the park. For some weird unexplained reason, they've now swapped the personalities. She now wants younger squirrels to learn how to forage for food, but they prefer the free way of life. So, wasn't the whole point of her character was to find food for the park and have Surly become less of an asshole and share the things in the nut shop? And now she's suddenly all bitchy about it? Like, I thought the whole point was finding a lifetime supply of food, and the animals now have a lifetime supply of food from that shop, and Surly's not an asshole anymore. And now since you're still clearly a simp, and now you're suddenly all bitchy about either of those, that just makes no sense. It's like the filmmaker's like, well, Surly's not much of an asshole anymore, so now we need Andy to be the new asshole. So yeah, rewritten bitchy version of Andy goes to protest to Surly. And of course, we get an obvious throwaway line that could not point out a lazy jinx. Surly literally says, it's not like the nut shop's gonna blow up. Of course, predictably, it blows up. Yeah, how lazy could they be with this? And so the fault lands on rewritten Mole, who does fucking nothing the whole film. Because he did not shut off the boiler, because he's clearly a fucking idiot. An unfunny fucking idiot. Like Surly instructed him too. So, now Surly and his best friend Buddy, rewritten Buddy, or this time around he's definitely not an asshole to Buddy this time. They go around the city to look for more food. They try a restaurant, they try a movie theater, they try a donut shop, but they keep getting chased out by humans everywhere because these places are not closed. And now the animals have to return to Liberty Park, and then we meet our villain of the movie, the mayor, who's voiced by Bobby Moynihan. He meets with other rich friends because he wants to discuss how every place in the city generates profit, except he feels like he gets no profits from a park. Why would you need profits from a park? Don't you have enough profits? Because then again, he's your typical greedy antagonist. So he claims he's going to have bigger plans for the park. So yeah, pretty much already in the beginning of this story, the largest victim for Surly's little story in this is now rewritten bitchy Andy, who keeps going that hard work always pays off and there's no shortcuts. It's just literally now her being this typical nagging mom who just tells you to just eat everything on your plates. And slowly proves not just dismissive but hostile to her concerns. And in fact, even never gets an I told you so during his little missteps. And the movie just sidesteps this rewritten version of Andy, and with an actual worthwhile point to concentrate on his jinx and literally dubious motives of supposed heroes and villains. Yeah, and this one, the villains are easily worse than its heroes. The mayor's just a typical greedy, generic environment-killing slob. And it's definitely more selfish than Surly was in the first, just about as selfish as Surly was in the first film. And he's just broadly drawn and obnoxious, and just liable to think the character was just created by a whack who thought they'd make a new villain and could have come up with a new villain, so they just picked a typical greedy mayor. And then he got the mayor's, then he has this mayor daughter who, oh right guys, it's basically, you know that animated film Cats Don't Dance from 1997? And he had Darla Dimple, I think her name was. She's basically that she's the mayor's daughter is basically just a lazy knockoff of Darla Dimple from Cats Don't Dance. Literally that. That's all you can pretty much say. Like, at one point even a character says, so this is what they mean when they say there were warning signs. Yeah, how ironic that is, because it's actually true. So yeah, after a little hijinks, Surly then returns to the park, mopes about the park. Then the mayor unveils to the town his plan for the park is gonna mow the whole place down, make room for his theme park that's creatively called Liberty Land. How creative could they get? The park's called Liberty Park, so he's just retitling it to Liberty Land. Yeah, and instantly, bulldozers then just randomly run through the park, scare away all the animals. Oh, and there's one mouse in this film that's literally his one line, keeps repeating the same bullshit line, we're all gonna die, like 1,000 fucking times. And like every single scene, he says that shit. Every fucking scene. Why? Because the writers must think it's funny. But it's not. At all. So while Surly and Andy are arguing about the situation, Surly resolves that he and the animals should fight back against the humans, even if it could get them all killed. So once the bulldozers and construction vehicles get close, the animals decide to charge and tamper with the machinery. Then they mess with the construction workers to terrify them. And even go as far as to destroy some of their money and launch a beehive at them. So wow. These animals are basically willing to kill a bunch of people doing their jobs. So they run away scared, and then one of the men goes and reports to the mayor, because of course one of them's going to go report to the mayor. Did they not predict that? So he looks at the park, and immediately sees Surly and quickly targets Surly first. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Surly is still upset with how things are, because now that since he was forced to return to the park, and Andy sees the opportunity to get the other animals to use their basic instincts to find food on their own. At one point, even literally tries to break into song, and they're like, that was weird, that was weird, I don't know what you were doing. And like, even the animals clearly don't have interest in returning to the park at all. Despite the fact that the shop's been blown up, they're going to have to go back to their parkways, but since all these animals are so stupid, they can't like think of just hiding under the rides or just sleeping during the day or hiding under the rides and then just come back and get your food during the time the park's closed and just hide under the park rides, eat the food you scrapped and collected during the daytime, or then sleep after that, and then just go back to that more. Like really, like honestly, really not that big of a deal to have a park turn into a theme park. Because I'm pretty sure animals live under theme parks all the time. But anyway, our greedy mayor then hires an exterminator to handle the animals in the park, so they make it clear that they're going to do things as inhumanely as possible. And then you meet Muldoon's psychotic daughter, who's the Darla Dimple knockoff, and her pet dog Frankie, who is literally voiced by Bobby Cannavale, who was in films like Spy, Ant-Man, its sequel, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah, literally somehow got bribed into doing this. Well, then again, like, this guy also starred in a Martin Scorsese film 2 years after this called The Irishman. Yeah, I don't know how he got bribed into doing this for some weird reason. Well, then again, this is not the only bad career choice he got. I mean, like, Because I remember he also was the villain in that shitty Annie remake from 2014. Yeah, that crap movie. So yeah, the two are sent out to get the animals. But however, when Frankie's trying to hunt the animals, of course, he falls in love with that pug from the first film. Yeah, the pug from the first film is somehow back. Falls in love with her. And so Shirley tries to get Precious to go along with this for the animals' own benefit so that the animals won't be hunted. So then the exterminator arrives and gets his team to chase after the animals. So honestly, I'm just going to call this exterminator discount skinny version of Dwayne. Discount skinny Dwayne. Just less interesting. And just less entertaining to watch than Dwayne. And so they're forced to hide. So yeah, the discount Dwayne nearly gets Mole with a stick of dynamite. But then of course, the mayor's demolition guys come in and they start blowing things up to make room for the construction guys so they can start building that theme park. Then the mayor drives home with his daughter, has taken Precious with her, so with this story, at least this one, they didn't try to rip off another animated movie like the first film did. Instead, you just get something more predictable than last time. And it's just going every route you're going to expect it to go. And I even hate aspects that feel pointless and add nothing to the story. Just drag out the film, like the backstory involving how young Shirley met Buddy. And pretty much obviously just to show why Buddy still sticks with Shirley even though he treats him like garbage in the first film. The animation even takes a downgrade form from the first film. Like, the animation, is better than the first film's animation. It's definitely has some great background, but like the first one, it does look a little unfinished. And I'll give credit that, characters from the first one are definitely improved. They're definitely a little more likable. However, the new characters are definitely not. The new characters are easily the worst this time around. You have this mouse called Mr. Fane, voiced by Jackie Chan, who is a pointless character, could have been cut out entirely and nothing would even change. It's not even the first time Jackie Chan has been wasted. Because, the last time before this he was wasted was literally that 2008 film, The Forbidden Kingdom, that was done by Rob Minkoff, where the advertising makes it look like it's going to be a film where Jackie Chan and Jet Li team up. No, you don't get that with that movie. Guess what, Forbidden Kingdom? You want to know what you get? Instead of being Jackie Chan and Jet Li, they're just side characters. Or they're just companions. Or, hell, Jet Li is literally trapped in fucking stone the whole film. Until the damn end. Instead, our movie is about some bitchy teenage kung fu fanboy that you don't give a rat's ass about. Yeah. Forbidden Kingdom I think sucks. Just have two iconic martial arts stars, and you throw them aside, just to make the film about some teenager you don't care about. It's not even interesting to watch. Then we get back to our two dog characters. We get to the pointless love interest story again. We're at the mayor's house, and the pug has to listen to the Darla Dimple ripoff, or she's not going to be fed. But of course, somehow Frankie's used to how crazy this Darla Dimple ripoff is. So both dogs perform tricks to get treats. So yeah, then our two leads, Shirley and Buddy, travel to the city so they can find the mayor's car and rescue the pug. But they end up meeting Jackie Chan's character, Mr. Fenn. Doesn't like being called cute. Where have we heard that gig before? At all. So our two leads run back into the streets, and they have to get away from the killer mice. Then the two make it to the mayor's house, and they find the pug. They make their getaway. Of course, our love interest dog where, guess what, guys? You did not even get a good story with these two. There's literally one scene in the damn film where when they're in their kennel together, literally, the pug wonders if they'll be fed, but guess what, guys? Carnival dog is well, I came prepared for that. Vomits. Eats his fucking vomit. Of course, the pug is grossed out by this, and so the pug fucking vomits. It's like, oh, I'll eat your vomit for you. Yeah, it eats her fucking vomit, cause get it, that's fucking hilarious. Yeah, that's so fucking heartwarming and funny. Yeah, like, which honestly is not funny at all. That's just fucking disgusting. Yeah, I want to see two characters vomit and eat their own fucking vomit. That's barely... Yeah, that's such a cute idea for a kid's film. Have characters eat their damn vomit. But yeah. So anyway, after the vomit eating scene for some weird reason, the pug gets rescued by her two leads, and so Cannibal Dog is heartbroken about being left behind, but then the mayor grabs a rifle and tries to shoot Surly, but then he misses and hits the balcony that Buddy's standing on, and sends Buddy falling to the ground. So, Surly and the pug then bring this unconscious Buddy back to the park. Yeah, once again, we get another Disney death in here, because that worked so well in the first movie. Like, you know he's not dead. But anyway, Surly's sad for his friend, even though, like, surprisingly this time, even though despite the fact this guy treats him like trash in the first film, this time he's sad for his friend this time, since, well, he's not an asshole anymore. And then we get a boring backstory of how the two met. It's a predictable backstory where they were children, a hurricane swept through their home, and the two ended up saving each other being blown away. So that pretty much justifies why they're friends, even though it's explicitly clear that Surly was an asshole to him all the time in the first. He was the only one that really helps him out. So I guess that explains why Buddy's so loyal to this guy. Then, of course, predictably, Buddy's alive. He wakes up, and the pug licks him, and he twitches. Just like, literally. Yeah. How predictable is that? You know he's not dead if you watch the damn film, but you probably won't. So, Liberty Land opens to the public, and the animals decide they're going to crash the opening and attack the mayor and his guests. Then the mayor calls for Discount Dwayne to round up his exterminator buddies and get the animals. And so, all the animals end up getting captured, but Surly manages to escape. So, yeah, like, from there, like, after we had the Disney death, and, like, guys, more about the Disney death cliche, or the fake-out death cliche that you want to call it. I personally think, like, Liar Revealed is not the only bad animated movie cliche. The number one worst animated movie cliche is easily the Disney death. Like, this happens when a character looks like they're dead. Either it's the main protagonist, or it's another side character, or something like that, or maybe it's even the love interest. Yeah, it looks like they're dead, and then we get boring, sappy, the characters start crying for like 30 seconds, and its worst thing is, even in good animated films, the cliche sucks. The one time it works, like, basically, this is like a horrible lesson to teach in children's films, because it literally makes people think that death is not permanent. Even it makes the concept of death a fucking joke, just to get cheap tears out of an audience. Even if it was for a character you don't give a fuck about. They even did this in the first film, even though Surly was too much of an unsympathetic asshole. So he basically didn't give a fuck, and we're kind of hoping he was dead. And apparently somehow he survived going over a fucking waterfall. The only time two times this cliche works is Short Circuit 2 and WALL-E. Those were the few times that cliche worked. Alright? Because WALL-E actually made it look like it was permanent. Like in WALL-E, like WALL-E got crushed by a fucking Hall detector. And then when Eve repaired him, like, he had just magically come back to life. No, he actually almost lost his fucking memory. So it looked like he was dead for frickin' good. And it took a kiss from Eve to actually regain it. So yeah, he actually almost died for fucking good. He may have came back to life, but the Wally we knew almost died for good. It just became another cloneless, emotionless clone of the other ones. Yeah. Other than that, this whole story just continues this failed attempt at a franchise, just a repetitive series of action scenes and more action, no funny writing, amusement park is not even threatening. Like, it's just bringing a colorful set to have fun chasing through. Another thing is, like, if these animals are trying to find a new home and food, like, once again, I've already mentioned, why not just, oh, I don't know, live underneath the rides or something like that? And then when the park is closed, go out and eat all the spilled food on the ground or in the trash, because I believe animals eat from the dumpster all the time. Even I think squirrels eat from the dumpsters. Go and eat all this. Yeah, just go and eat all the spilled food that's spilled on the ground. Because at carnivals, food gets spilled all the freaking time. I've been to Playland, there's spilled food on the grounds there. So it wouldn't be that much of a difference. Hell, like, yeah, like at Playland I see pigeons peck away at fries. Or even I see squirrels go in the trash to grab things. So hell, these animals are apparently that stupid to not think about that. Not think of that plan, because to just hide during the day, come out late at night when the park is closed. Nope. Because, hey, this is a generic kids animated film, so we gotta have an environment message. And yeah, this finale isn't even that exciting at all as it tries to think it is. Like, so after all the animals are captured, Sully goes back to Jackie Chan Mouse and the mice for help again. But of course, the mouse wants nothing to do with the park because him and his family were run out there by humans. And they literally spent their time watching kung fu videos to learn martial arts. Yeah, they learned martial arts from fucking kung fu videos. I thought this was supposed to be the 50s. Why are they talking about kung fu videos in the 50s? But whatever. They're ready to kill Surly, but he doesn't care what happens to him if he loses the park, so... And guess what, guys? When Surly says that, Fenn's like, oh, okay, I'll help you out. So they go help Surly. So yeah, so it takes, go ahead and kill me. Okay, we'll help you out. That's your excuse. Yeah, since he wants us to kill him, we'll totally help this guy out. So anyway, after that lazy attempt, they break out his friends and they go and sabotage the park rides. And then the Ferris wheel gets ejected and runs over nearly everything. Then the pug and carnival dog reunite and breaks him out, and he forgives her when she tries to puke up something for him to eat again. Yeah, because the puking scene's apparently supposed to be great. Discount Dwayne tries to shoot the animals with a dart, but then ends up shooting rip-off of Darla Dimple in the ass. Then the rest of the humans leave the park, but then the mayor tries to escape in a hot air balloon when he's about to be arrested. So, Surly goes after him by hopping on a roller coaster and fights him on top of a balloon. Then the mayor's defeated when he falls from the balloon and he lands on the bouncy house. And so Discount Dwayne, Darla Dimple, Rip-Off, and the mayor are all arrested. And the theme park gets shut down after being deemed hazardous. Wow. Then the city chips in to rebuild the park in somehow a few days, clearly, even though it would probably take years to rebuild an entire park. Somehow this movie makes it look like it's days. Animals moved back into the park, and so have the mice. And Surly's not ready to be a normal animal, but he sees a nut cart pull up to the park. He asks bitchy rewritten Andy for permission, and so she joins him and the pug to go rob the cart, and the movie's over there. Yeah, it ends with them both robbing another nut cart. Let me recall. Didn't that cause your last home to be destroyed? Didn't that cause you to get kicked out of the park in the first film? Did they just forget about that incident? So wouldn't robbing another nut cart not be such a good idea to do in the first place? Because you're probably just going to repeat your punishments all over again. Yeah, great idea. Let's just repeat the mistake that destroyed our last home. Whatever, the movie's finally over. On the plus side, at least it doesn't end with PSY, but this time it just ends with just a boring pop song. But I'll take that over ending with Gangnam Style. And then we see some random bloopers of Fenn's first scene, as if that was meant to be funny, as if they were trying to do what Pixar used to do with their older films, but it didn't work. And then we get a credit stinger where, guess what, guys? Raccoon is still alive for some weird reason. He was apparently still sitting on the harbor, not skinny or dead. And he swims back to New York, but he gets pursued by sharks, what was even the point of this stinger? Because for one, this movie bombed when it released, nobody wanted to see it, so why even make a stinger as if people wanted a third film, so you're not going to get a third movie of this shit. And two, he's pursued by sharks, so I guess he just gets eaten before he even makes it to land. And I don't know why he just tried to swim back in the first film, because he was there in the credits of the first. Apparently he never thought about that, but whatever, I guess he just dies before he gets to land. Rip, so much for that stinger. But yeah, whatever, that was Nutty by Nature. Was there good qualities? Yeah, like, definitely more good qualities than the first. Like, the characters are not assholes, the story's not a ripoff, the mean-spirited tone is gone, there's no fart jokes, so this time you get a vomit-eating joke. And it feels more slightly like the 50s this time, up until Jackie Chan Mouse mentions that they learned Kung Fu from Kung Fu videos. But other than that, there's less 2010 references and no shitty Gangnam Style, 10 the film. Other than that, the nut job Nutty by Nature, yeah, it's definitely an avoid for sure. It's an improvement, but it's not automatically good. In the end, guys, if the first one was horseshit, this is also an avoid because it is just an unwanted sequel, and thank God we ain't getting a third entry in this series because it was a series nobody demanded, and this movie bombed and lost money. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of the rant of the Nut Job 2. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Nut Job 2, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, just avoid the Nut Job 2 if you don't want to suffer through the Nut Job 2 after how bad the first one was. It may not be as bad as the first, but it's still a lame movie, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Nut Job 2, I'm going to give the Nut Job 2 a 4 out of 10. There we go, guys. Finally, we finished this awful series. Now we can move on to a good film. And our next review is going to be for a popular John Woo, Jean-Claude Van Damme film. Yeah. And this was once Rambo Afterlife's favorite movie of all time until that changed to Aliens. Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about, guys. That will be the next review. Until then, guys, that will be it for this rant. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.